Let me tell you something that most people already know deep down, but never say out loud. Nobody cares about a 13-0 baseball blowout. When the score gets that lopsided, people start drifting. They check their phones, they argue about where to eat after the game, they stare at the ceiling like it owes them something. But on this particular night, inside the Tokyo Dome, a game that was already decided somehow had the whole world leaning forward. Not because of the score, because of one man trying to do something that almost never happens. Another man in the crowd watching it unfold with his arms crossed and his heart sinking. And one frozen split second where history was close enough to touch before it slipped right through everybody's fingers. Bad Bunny was in that building. Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, born in Vega Baja, Puerto Rico, raised on the kind of hustle that turns a kid from a small town into one of the biggest names on the planet. When word got out that he was sitting inside the Tokyo Dome for Team Japan's World Baseball Classic opener against Chinese Taipei, some people acted surprised, like, what is a reggaeton artist doing at a baseball game in Japan? That reaction tells you everything about how badly people underestimate this man. Bad Bunny doesn't show up anywhere by accident. When he's somewhere, he means every second of it.
Before we get into it, welcome to Celebrity Talk Show Room. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover the stories that go deeper than the headlines. Now, let's get into it.
Now, before we get to what happened inside that stadium, you need to understand the other man at the center of this story, Shohei Ohtani. If you follow baseball, the name alone does something to you. If you don't, listen carefully. Ohtani does two things that nobody is supposed to be able to do at the highest level of the sport simultaneously. He pitches like a staff ace and hits like a cleanup slugger. That combination is not supposed to exist. Coaches will tell you it doesn't work. History will tell you nobody has sustained it. And then Ohtani steps on a field and makes history look confused. On this night, he was performing in front of his home country, inside a dome packed with people who love him the way you only love someone who makes you proud of where you're from. Second inning, runners on base, crowd already vibrating with that energy you only feel when something big is about to happen. Ohtani stepped in, tracked the pitch, and hit it so hard and so far that the entire Tokyo Dome exploded. Grand slam. Gone. You could feel that moment even through a screen. Now imagine being inside those walls, the roar coming at you from every direction, bouncing off the ceiling and crashing right back down. Bad Bunny was on his feet. Every single person in that stadium was on their feet. The game had a heartbeat now, and that heartbeat wasn't going anywhere. But here is where the story turns, and you need to follow the math, because the math is what made everything electric. Before the Grand Slam, Ohtani had already roped a double in the first inning. Somewhere in between, he had picked up a single, too. People who really understood what they were watching started doing the arithmetic in their heads, quietly at first, then louder, then all at once. If Ohtani could come up and leg out a triple, he would complete what baseball people call hitting for the cycle. One single, one double, one triple, one home run, all in the same game. One of the rarest individual accomplishments the sport has. It doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen on the big stage in front of a packed stadium very often at all. The whole building knew it. Bad Bunny knew it. Everyone was holding their breath. Here is where people who don't watch baseball don't fully appreciate about a triple. A home run is spectacular, but once the ball clears the fence, the drama is over. A triple is chaos on legs. Everything has to break right at exactly the same moment. The ball has to find the gap, the outfielder has to be out of position, the runner has to fly, and even then, you're still counting on inches. It cannot be forced. You cannot manufacture a triple out of pure will. Except, standing in that batter's box, Ohtani looked like maybe he was about to prove that wrong. He made contact, solid contact, a line drive that screamed off the bat toward right field with that low, flat trajectory that makes your stomach drop. For one frozen moment, it looked like the ball was going to find the corner. The crowd started to rise as one. Thousands of people pulled upward by pure instinct, arms reaching out, hands grabbing at jerseys and each other. The noise hit a completely different register. And then Nianting Wu, the first baseman for Chinese Taipei, stretched his glove out and snatched that baseball right out of the air. Just like that. 6 inches to the right, maybe 8 inches higher, and Ohtani is flying around the bases, and the Tokyo Dome becomes the loudest place on Earth. Instead, out. Clean, simple, and devastating. The cameras panned immediately to Bad Bunny. He was standing with his arms crossed, that unmistakable silhouette, and on his face was this pained, rueful little smile. Not amusement, the smile of someone who just watched something beautiful almost happen and felt the full weight of the almost. He stood there soaking it in the way only a real fan can, then brought his hands together and started clapping. Not politely, the kind of clap that says, I respect what just happened, even though my heart just fell down 3 flights of stairs. That footage spread everywhere within minutes. People couldn't stop talking about it. Not just because Bad Bunny was there, but because of how genuine that reaction was. No performance, no posturing, just a man in a crowd, fully inside the experience, feeling the exact same sting as everyone else in that building. What makes the whole thing even more meaningful is that his connection to this tournament ran much deeper than a seat in the stands. When Team Puerto Rico was assembling their roster, there were problems securing insurance coverage for top major league talent. The costs are significant, and without that coverage, certain names can't be cleared to compete. Bad Bunny reportedly stepped forward and covered those costs himself. No press release, just handle it. Because of that, Francisco Lindor and Carlos Correa were able to suit up for their island. Then he went further, gifting every player on the roster a pair of custom Adidas cleats done up in an exclusive Team Puerto Rico colorway that existed nowhere else on Earth. That is not a marketing move. That is love in its most straightforward form. So by the time he turned up in Tokyo, this was not a celebrity dropping by a sporting event for the cameras. This was someone who had already invested in real and meaningful ways, showing up in person to see what it all looked like when it came together. And the universe decided to put him right in the middle of the most dramatic moment of the whole night. Team Japan won big, and Ohtani never got his cycle, but none of that was the point by the time it was over. What people carried out of that stadium was a line drive snatched away by inches, a crossed-armed silhouette, and a pained smile that said everything without saying a single word. Sometimes the moments that almost happen leave the deepest marks of all.